So for those of you who are wondering, the reason that I paused was simply because this part here got sketched out. It's actually not difficult making a claw once you've made them once or twice, and I have done them a few times, but I didn't want to actually muck up the rest of the lesson by getting it wrong and then having to destroy the rest of the tutorial and re-record it, because I'm inherently lazy. It comes with the profession. Don't blame me, I had a bad childhood. Okay, so I'm going to make a couple of clones of this. One there, and one there. And yet again, there's a reason. Now, what I want to do is take our initial object here, and I want to curve it round, I want to bend it. So I'm going to do a hinge from edge, move to there. Now there's too many polygons going in, so I'll reduce my segments down to 1. I want to do a hinge from edge, and hinge it from this edge here. Then I want to hinge it from this edge here. Too much. I'll try this one instead. There we are. Gives me more manual control of what I'm doing there. There we go. Good. And then finally just going to extrude this over here, and that's where our claw is going to finish. Just want to pull it a bit more this way. There we go. And rotate this around a little bit more. Now what I want to do here, in this next section, is get rid of the pieces I'm not using. So, select by element, should be able to select this one, click delete, this one, click delete. Okay, now I want to select and delete all the inside polygons on this. You'll understand why in a minute. It's one of those unfortunate things where we have to make an organic shape again in a tutorial that's devoted almost entirely to not making organic shapes. So, delete, there we go, and I'll take off that one as well. And we'll go around the back. There isn't a polygon there, so we're not going to have a problem with that. Okay, reason being, I want to smooth it out. Like that. You can see what I've done. It's not particularly a complicated idea. I just want to narrow it down a bit. Still too many polygons in it though. So I'm going to weld out these ones here. So zoom extents, and let's just use a target weld again. There we go. Just killing all these extra ones that we don't need. Don't forget, you'll have to do the underside too. The less polygons you've got, the more of a curved shape you're going to get. There we go. There. Now, I'm going to move this forward because it's not making enough of a claw shape. There we are. Yeah, that's fine. Now we're a polygon or two short here for some reason because of these vertexes. I'm not exactly sure what they're playing at, so I'm probably going to have to cut one. I'll just use my cut. Cut one there. Straight down there. Turn it over. And there. Okay, this means we can now taper the end again the way that I wanted to. There we are. So now, as you see, we're getting a much smoother, easier to manipulate shape. Definitely claw-like. Excellent. Just what I wanted. So let's reduce the iterations just for the moment. Turn off smooth ISO line display so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to right click, convert to editable polygon. Reason being, and I want to start doing some things to it. So select that, wrong one, loop it. Now I can do an extrude. This will give us a rather nice sharp point on this fellow. There we go. Bring it down a bit. So there's our nice ridge on the crab claw. Now I'm going to have to start going around and closing off the polygons as soon as I'm sure that this is the shape that I want. So before I do, let's add some spiking to it. Very easy to add spikes, by the way. And select this rack here. And turn it over on this side. Do the same again. Remember, when we look fearsome, these claws are going to be like coming shooting towards people's faces, doing most unpleasant things to them in a very unfriendly way. You want this model to say, you know, this is my model. Okay, just select these two end ones. By the way, background music and entertainment in the artist studio today was provided by the film Krull, which is on TV for no apparent reason. Okay, just extrude those. Nice small base width. See? Spikes. Easy as. So 4 so you can see them better. That's broken up the shape rather nicely as well. Now, we're not going to cap this. I mean, that would be foolishness beyond compare. We are, however, going to have to build some polygons here, and this is where building polygons becomes a new kind of hell and torture. So, create. And just do it slowly. If you make a mistake, Control Z is your friend. There we go. I would use the new shell modifier by Discrete that ships with this, but quite frankly it's the only use I've found for it really would be in games modding, where you want to create hollow rooms. I'm sure it has more uses than that, and please feel free to flame me galore on the forums, or send me, email saying, "Oh, I love Shell, Shell is brilliant," and why you think it's brilliant. I mean, there's lots of really useful tools in 3D Studio Max, but they're not ones that I really use very often, like Melt, for example. I don't find many people on the forums, writing in and saying, "I made this killer animation using Melt the other day." There's just something about it. I don't know what. Melt's just one of those tools, I suppose, that you use when you're starting off. "Well, looky here, I made the teapot melt." Well, aren't you clever? Well done, Grandma. Okay, just move these in. As Mike Patton once said, it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. Even though I don't think he was referring to creating polygons at the time. I think it's something that, we can all understand. Okay, so we've got our nice big claw. I mean, if this was a nice object, you could probably make these all sparkly colours and pretend it was a nice one. It isn't, but you could pretend. And deselect that end one there. And now we're going to inset it. And marvel at how many polygons we create. Okay, now a little extrusion. And in fact we're going to extrude it minus 0.001. Click OK. And then we're going to extrude it manually. So 3, because we don't want it to do what it's about to do there, which is go through the bloody wall. There we are. Our main job is to make sure we don't get any glaringly mad, bizarre things happening to our model. Okay, so we've got our shape here. You can add another NURM subdivision level if you really want to. It'll do that. Quite an exciting shape, I think anyone would agree. And you've definitely got your rather nice claw here. So now we have to make the other bit of the claw, the not claw. And we also have to close this gap here, which we can do using a border. God save our souls for doing so. Let's do a quick inset. There we go. I'm going to turn off use NURM subdivision for a moment and press F4. Click grow, and I want to extrude these back over the top of these to act as a kind of shield thingy, and then do a tiny extrude on top of that, 0.001. Click OK. Reason being that now when I use NURM subdivision it makes a more smooth collar. This isn't going to balls up our entire model. Okay, and so of course the big bit, we've got our kind of scoopy top hand. We need our kind of sharp looking cutty thing that's going to push into it in a most satisfying manner. Okay, so how do we create our next piece so that it fits nicely into here? Well, let's collapse this. Whoa, look at all them there polys. That's right, there's lots of them. What we want to do is select the inside ones. So we're going to have a laugh and click ignore back facing. Anyone experienced with 3D Studio Max will know how funny that is. And just select these ones here. Okay, click grow just a couple of times. There we are. Can't believe I'm using ignore back facing. I'm taking my life in my hands here. Okay, and let's pull it on the y-axis here and make a copy. Okay. Now it's selected by element. I'm just going to flip it, and we can see along the bottom here we've got a row that really isn't going to do us very much help. So select the top one here. I want to select by line. I want to detach this first before I forget. And I'm going to call this hooky thumb thing. Because quite frankly I can't remember what they're called, and please, yet again, feel free to write in and tell me what it's called and ridicule me. Okay, using our edge tool, select this edge here, do a loop and delete. Hit again, another loop and delete. And we have this rather nice claw object that we're going to make quite considerable use of as soon as I've built a back to it. So, choices for putting the back on it are creating a polygon or risking our lives with a cap. It all depends really on your outlook. A cap is going to be easier, albeit, well, look at it. It's a strange thing, the cap, as you can see. I mean, you can't even triangulate it properly. Sorry, tessellate it properly, because it does horrible things to your model. If you're going to cap it, you're still going to have to go and do some cuts. It's just a fact of life, unfortunately, and I'm sorry. So how you want to cut this is up to you. But I'm afraid the claw is a high polygon item. So there's one cut. If you don't want to watch this exciting cutting festival that I'm doing here, then you can of course fast forward. I just wish I could. So just, fortunately the cut will normally just self-align itself, which is thankfully one of the more useful things it does. Remember to press right click after making your cut so that you don't make triangle polys. I've made one over there and I'll probably end up having to delete them both. But as you see, we're now reshaping our oh so lovely claw piece here. And of course the good thing is that it means this will now fit perfectly inside our claw. For the rending and the chopping and the cutting and the maiming and the harming and so on. Good old Professor Frink. And just keep it going. Keep it going as long as you can before your brain melts. Remember saying words to yourself like "not long to go" are indicative that you're about to ruin your entire model, so be patient. As the Green Cross Code man used to say, I won't always be there to help you, before he became Darth Vader. You, many polys. Fortunately, our object is in a state now where we don't really need to worry too much about these end ones. Okay, so there is our lovely, great big polygony thing. And how are we going to attach this more than exciting object of death to the rest of our model? Well, rather than building a back on it, which isn't very sci-fi, and leaving it looking organic, the best thing to do really in this instance is make it look as inorganic as possible from this point onwards. So, hinge from edge, and let's start getting this in a less organic vein. Oops. There we go. And we're going to inset. Well, no, we're not going to inset, we're just going to view align them actually. For which I believe we need to be in the left hand view. There we are. And they're facing that way at the moment, so if I do an inset, there we go. Now then, if I'm going to make my usual stock in trade for this model, which is lots of pipe work, I want to do a, where's it gone, target weld. Get rid of these things. But by now you're completely sick of seeing these things. You have no idea, mate. Just imagine how many times I've recorded this tutorial. How many times I've had to cancel it and restart and thump my head off the wall. Okay, extrude this. Click shrink, extrude it again. There we go. Wait for autosave to do its business. If ever you feel like complaining about autosave, just feel free to turn it off and then cry when your model gets completely destroyed in some sort of freak accident and you have no backup. Autosave is your friend. You should love it like a brother. this back on the y-axis. There we go. Nice. Okay. Now then, the attachment piece, aka how do we get this to attach to the rest of the model? Well, funny enough, that's not actually that hard. I'm just going to insert this, and just by doing a vertex target weld, I can straighten these out without much problem. This will make our box completely flat. There we are, just here. So now I can extrude it. And this is going to become our attachment piece that connects it to over here. And to connect it to the piece over here, rather than having our usual method of exciting looking and cunningly designed tubes, I'm going to do something slightly different. So I want to tessellate it. And select this rather nice little C pattern here. Insert the pattern a bit. There we go. And if I may be so brave, pull back, the claw will attach right the way through this arm piece over here. So we need a piece between here and here that I can use as a kind of bracket. So I'm going to take this, shift, copy, and just move it to about here. Click OK. Now I'm going to go back and select the polygons that I originally had. Just going to use the select tool, it's a bit easier. Pull back a bit and turn this part on. Try and get a good hinge for this. Now that hinge obviously needs to be more that way, so I'm just going to click cancel, and I'm going to give this a name selection, temp set 1, click OK. So now I can click on this piece. I want to move it this way. There we are. A little bit back as well. So now drop down, click temp set, hinge from edge, pick my hinge, gonna have this one. And you can see now how this is starting to fit. This goes there, and click OK. Now, I'm going to get rid of this piece and delete those isolated vertices. Okay, now down here, I'm going to use good old auto grid just to create me a quick box. Now, turn around, up a bit, and I'm going to scale it up. There we go. And zoom by this big exciting looking object. And the idea is I want to get this to actually embed itself more or less into the wall here. About there. Okay. Right, we're going to go back to this model here, which is our lower arm, and attach this piece and select the entire lot, pull it down a bit. There we are. To get it right. Then select this one here, insert it, and grow. Then deselect the middle one, and extrude it. There we go. So now you can see pretty much how it hinges down there. What I want to do is bring these vertexes here backward, like that. And I want to bring this piece over here. Around about there would be nice. Press F3. The idea being that it's going to actually pivot on that piece there. So back over here. Select our original vertexes, and let's just move this piece over to there. So F3. And now you can see how that piece kind of slams into that piece more or less. Okay. Good, we're happy. So now we come to the section where we're going to have to attach it to the rest of the body and get it scaled properly. So, display, unhide by name, and let's go find our torso. That's our torso base pivot there. Now as you see, it's hardly an imposing arm at the moment, but it will be. Oh yes, it shall. It'll mean a little bit of X-form, but we can live with that. So, let's pull this out. And crank it up. Because it's supposed to be overblown, oversized, and over here. That's supposed to be undersized and a bit naff looking, really. So there we go, we've got the arm in the right position. So now we can start filling that hole that it left behind. Keep clicking the wrong button rather than rotate. So, trying to convert this back to being an editable polygon again. Put our border on. Just cap it. Select this piece and extrude it down. Insert it down. Silly me. Silly you, silly me. There we go. Down in size to about there. And then we extrude it through. And that's our arm connected. Okay, and you've got to admit that is extremely overblown in size, which, you know, makes us all very happy, I'm sure. And what I'm going to do for this piece, just to give us slightly more scope for what I want to do, is affect the pivot, send it to object, affect pivot off. I'm going to rotate this around like that, so that we can move our arm in and out. Now another thing is, because of the fun scaling we've had, and I know we've all had a great time scaling, it's time to reset the X-forms. There we go. This means now that we can link these objects without fear of our objects going completely AWOL and us having to cry and look like sissy pants. This means that now we can link these objects in the way that we want. So, do a quick link just to explain. This links to this. This also links to this. This links to this. This links to this. There we go. Meaning that, even though I'm not going to IK rig this at the moment, we can now see how it all kind of comes together. See? So I'm just going to move this in, even rotate it round. Isn't it fun? Generally just for ripping the living hell out of any object that it comes across. So, there's our initial object there. And of course we're going to have to mirror it. So, mirror on. I'm going to make a copy. And of course copy it into the right place. And click OK. And let's see it in context. And now you see how the big claws fit onto the front of our big scorpion. Told you they'd be oversized, yet they fit. Hooray. Pardon me. Okay, so what's left to do? Well, the head, and well, that's it. So, in the next part of the tutorial, you'll be watching me making the head, which, to be honest, is just a helmet with some horns on. Yeah, I don't think you even need a tutorial for that. And then after that, we're off to the animation lab. So, until I see you next time, thanks for watching. Catch you later.